everybody. You're listening to the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Billy Z.
I'm Justin Allen.
And I'm Steve Morey.
And we unfortunately don't have Brother Brian with us tonight, but we do have two very special guests returning to the show of Self-Obsessed and Little Depressed Boy and Burn the Orphanage and soon of Iceman fame. We have Sina Grace. Sina has the second season of Self-Obsessed, which has just come out. We also have the director of the second season of Self-Obsessed, Kevin Sonnichsen. So you're going to hear one of our patented explosions. We'll get on with the interview, then we'll be back with you on the tail end of that. We are thrilled to bring back to the show for a second time, Sina Grace. Sina, thank you for coming on the show.
Woo!
And Sina is here to talk about the second season of Self-Obsessed, and he brought a friend along with him. For the first time on this show, thrilled to bring to the show, and this is actually the first time talking with this gentleman, though I've been chatting with him for some time, Kevin Sonnichsen, who is the director of the entire second season.
Woo!
Hello, Comic Book Bears.
Yeah.
Hello.
But for all listeners out there, you should Google Kevin or Facebook Kevin and take a look at him and see why he's especially pertinent to this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you were pimping me out last time too. I appreciate it both times.
You're a handsome man. You know what I mean?
You're one of the most handsome men on the planet. That's where you say thank you.
I was waiting for you to continue. Thank you so much. I was like, if we had video, I'd be waving you on. Use more, please. No, thank you so much.
Okay, Sina, where is Sina Grace at the beginning of Self-Obsessed Season 2?
So there's a little bit of a time jump between the first and the second season of this web series. And for people who don't know what it's about me. I am a comic writer and artist, and in the first season he had sort of hit a lot of stumbles and kind of decided to hunker down, focus on a personal project. So we find him kind of traveling between LA and San Francisco, and he thinks he's landed on an idea, and we see him at Skybound where he and I used to work, and he's pitching to the editor who replaced him, who is played by the real-life editor who replaced me, Sean Makowitz. So it's pretty cute and has a lot of, in-jokes for comic book fans. And I don't know, I think we did a good job sort of translating the bombast and lack thereof that comes with trying to pitch something and then basically losing all of your sort of ego halfway through it. You guys have seen the episodes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
And why don't you give us some background about who else we can expect to see in this show?
So we brought back the people from the first season, Amber Benson, Adam Bush, who are both Buffy the Vampire Slayer alums, and then similarly, we brought back Dreamboat John Gabrus, who played my ex-boyfriend Joshua, and he's in a new relationship, and I try to be a good ex-boyfriend about it, but knowing me, I'm not. And his ex-boyfriend is played by the truly, truly hilarious and lovely Drew Droege. People don't know him by his Christian name. They know him as Chloe Seven Yi on YouTube. And then we got Laura Silverman. She plays herself. She plays Laura. Colleen Green, who is a cool punk rocker girl. She's playing herself. And then I don't know if you guys know him, but we gave Bailey Godfrey his acting debut in this as a potential love interest for my character named Ash.
Right. We do have a connection because Brian shares an alma mater with Bailey. They both went to FSU, so.
Where's UCF?
UCF, sorry. I know I'll get smacked for that.
Oh, he's gonna tell.
Yeah.
He's so mad.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The school down there.
Later, right?
The school down there. So, Kevin, for the first season, you were an associate producer. How did it come to pass that you took a bigger role in the second season?
Sina and I have been working on projects for quite a while now. We first started working together on an adaptation of Not My Bag that we were trying to turn into a feature. And then we started talking about Self-Obsessed season 1, and I helped develop it to an extent. But when it came time to shoot it, I was actually in between jobs, and I didn't really have the funds or wherewithal to go down and shoot it. And so I sort of sat that one out. But when the opportunity came around for season 2, Sina reached out, and I was very happy to say yes.
And how did you guys get to know each other?
We had a friend in common, Nav Parker, who now lives in Los Angeles. How did it come about? I think Nav and I were talking, and he had gone on a date or two with Sina, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm dating this guy." I mean, Sina, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you were still editing the Walking Dead comic at that point, right?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that how it happened?
Sina doesn't know.
I have my version of it, and all I remember was just like you had added me on Facebook, and I was like, "Ooh, who is that?"
Well, I hope you didn't finish the rest of that line from the show.
Yeah. Sina, a lot of us have had that experience.
Wow. But he said, "Yeah, I'm dating or been on a couple dates with this guy who edits the Walking Dead comic," and I had gotten into the comic and was watching the show, I think, at that point. And I was like, this sounds like an interesting guy to talk to. And so I friended Sina on Facebook, and we started chatting. And, I liked that he was a creative guy, and we saw some things in common. He was looking to do some more stuff with Not My Bag, and I was looking for a new project to do as a director, and it sort of worked out, and we developed our now famous chemistry.
That's pretty much it. I love that. There you go. Boom.
Yeah. One thing I really love about this series, both the first season and the second season, is the way you incorporate music, not just in the background, but also as part of the narrative. And Kevin, I know you come from a musical background, and Sina, I was just wondering if you can comment about what people can expect when they do watch season 2 and the musical component of it.
Like the key for me in the music and Self-Obsessed is like, this is very much trying to reflect my world and my tastes and my sensibilities, and more to the point, I think also it's become a little important to me to be like, not all gay men listen to like club music, and that's, that shit's fine. Obviously, I love Lady Gaga a lot. But I'm like, I think more and more just sort of a kind of a punk shoegaze guy. And so I tried to bring in as much of the music that I absorb and listen to and invest in here in LA. And it's been really cool because for the most part, the bands are super into it, super appreciative. And, they get that this sort of project is not, I just always try to emphasize, like, listen, this is not for me to make money. This is not for me to become an actor. Like, this is literally just to try and get eyes on the book. And yeah, they all see that and respect it and are more than happy to sort of be involved. And more to the point too, with like something like Self-Obsessed and this season that Kevin and I were working on, like I wanted to sort of shed light on how hard it is to be a working creative professional. And, it's actors, it's musicians, and it's artists and plenty of others. But here in LA, it's kind of those. And even if you have a job, you're still kind of eating some dicks. And that, I just wanted to sort of focus on that and talk about that. And we got to shoot the band Feels, who did the theme song, Slippin' for Self-Obsessed. And we got a really lovely sort of organic line from the lead singer, Lena, just about like how hard she's been working and touring for this band. And it's funny because she didn't even have to stick to the script. Everything she says happened to her that day. Like, she was kind of like, do I have to say this? And she just basically described the band like, being on a relentless tour, having woken up at like 6 a.m. from Tucson to drive to LA to play another gig and like not even knowing what day of the week it is. And I just think that's sort of a part of the process and something that robs a lot of glamour from the process that, I just wanted to sort of shine a light on and then also, kind of rep some bands I love.
Cool. When we have an interview show on the Comic Book Bears, it takes the form of a relay race. So I'm handing the interview baton off to Steve. Steve, what have you got for the boys there?
I do have to say I love the first season and really love the second season too. And one thing that I did notice, and I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who's listening who hasn't watched the series yet. I definitely want them to go out and see it. But I noticed that there was a lot of additional focus on some of the other people in the piece. So, there's a really great part with Sina and Amber at a local comic convention, and just seeing the experience of Amber and Sina's experience as well, and then also Laura's experience and Adam's experience, just sort of taking the idea of self-obsessed and spreading it around with all the other characters. And it's, and I think that's kind of like the tagline that I've seen, aren't we all a little self-obsessed? And really that kind of comes through a lot. Did you set out to sort of expand the focus of the series in the second season to include a lot of these other experiences from the other characters, the other actors in your piece?
Yeah, and I'll also kind of I'm gonna also want to hear Kevin's answer on this too, just to see how he sort of tried to juggle that stuff, because he did a lot of things that I wasn't even catching on that were very artful and subtle, and then I was like, oh, like literally on the 10th cut, I was like, oh, I did there, bro. But yeah, partially it was like, oh my gosh, I have access to these wonderful performers, and on the one hand, like I could just keep doing it about me. But if you look at the first season, it's like all everyone does is react to me. And that's not very interesting. And it's not also very interesting or enticing for an actor. It's like, oh, and then this season you react to me doing this. And so I just thought, okay, well, like, let's see how everyone else kind of lives under this theme, of being self-obsessed, and how does that look? And one of the things that kind of never got explored in the first season that you brought up is like, and I don't say this in a bad way, like, it's just, we all are, like, fans are a little self-obsessed. You go up to someone and very quickly you stop telling them about sort of the thing they did, and you tell them more about where you were when they did the thing they did. And it's like, again, it's not bad, but it's just an observation that I kind of wanted to look at and explore and see how each of these characters and these actors would bring reactions to it. And so, yeah, that was the thing, was it was just like, if I'm gonna have these actors, I want to give them, a better story. I think it'll also make things more rich and cool for viewers. And what was the other thing about it? Why else did I want to do that? I don't know. Also, yeah, it was like Veronica Mars season 2. I was tired. Like, I can't. It was like the cast out. I can't be in every scene. Like, it's just, I don't know how to act. Fuck. Like, let's hand it to someone else. So yeah, those were sort of that was my impetus to kind of grow it out, and also, like, I wanted to pass the Bechdel test and make sure that the women characters were not just sort of like there to bring the man closer to his plot, and yeah, that was where I went with it. And Kevin, if you have any sort of thoughts or stuff you did that I'm going to learn about right now, please chime in.
Well, to bring in other stories, I think it was great to make the supporting cast, the ensemble, stronger, and we really tried to reflect some of the things that were going on with Sina, in their struggles in their day to day as well. All being creative people themselves. It was also, interesting, and we had a conversation about this just the other night about, Sina and I have been talking about like season 3, and he's been like kind of dropping.
If there is one, just saying.
if there is one.
Wait for the press release, if there is.
Okay, we're talking about a possible season 3.
Yeah.
There we go. I will not confirm or deny.
That we're thinking about hardcore. That we're heavy petting the notion of a season 3.
Well, we had such a good time working together that, and I really enjoyed working on this as well. I mean, I haven't done a narrative piece for quite a while, so it was great to get back into it and to work with actors. I mean, this was sort of a sprint, though. I mean, we shot basically, 3/4 of a feature film in 3 or 4 weekends, which is insane. But yes, get back to the question. But it was great to even bring those individual stories in. And when Sina was talking about like the first season being about people reacting to him, we actually had a conversation when we were shooting episode 2, which is the Comic-Con episode, and Sina was like, "Today was so easy. I just had to react to other people for a change." So, and actually, there's a lot of gold in there, and actually a lot of these other characters brought in a lot of richness, even with like their improv and their asides. A lot of richness to the story and a lot of richness to the script that was really special.
Yeah, I definitely did love that. I think there was a little bit, like you said, some of the improv, some of the asides added to a feel of realism to this season that I thought was pretty cool. And actually, you're talking about reactions and talking about self-obsession of fans, to go back to what Sina, what you had mentioned too. One of the characters does have a great line. I'm not going to say who it is or where it is, but has an encounter with a fan that leaves her with such a wonderful line afterwards that almost brought a tear to my eye, because it's it was sad and funny as an observation that the fan spent more time talking about herself that the actor could not say thank you to extract herself from the situation, because there was just too much going on about the fan that no compliment sort of escaped the fan's mouth to the actor who they were supposedly there to praise or to be excited to see.
Right.
And that I think was such a great just a great quick moment, because we all kind of fall into that as fans, and especially comic book fans, we all kind of fall into that situation. Oh well, this is how this thing made me feel, not how I really like your stuff because XYZ. It's more like, hey, this is me. Let me tell you about me and how this is all impacting me, and that can be kind of frustrating. But and I'm going to jump in and just to, thank you. I'm glad you felt that. And I didn't mean to interrupt there. I'm such an asshole. No. Such a jerk. Ugh, that's it. I'm done.
But that was actually, I mean, aside from really just wanting to collaborate with Colleen on something, and I'm not good at music, so it's like, okay, well, web series. But that's kind of why I threw Colleen in as a performer, because that's how I met her. I was like a crazy fanboy, and I just completely embarrassed myself, but managed to find a way to like get her to be like, okay, this guy's okay. But I put that in there to sort of show some not hypocrisy, but like it's just understandable. Like, we all do it. You can't help yourself sometimes when you're just with someone that, has affected you in that way. And that's sort of how my character is with Colleen Green and her music. He's just too enamored and too much of a fanboy to realize that he's sort of being the thing that his group of friends has been like talking about and not railing against, but sort of, wishing there was a better version of.
That is awesome. And I did want to say, because I did see him as a quick cameo in the second episode, Brayden.
Maybe. We're seeing Power Rangers on Friday.
Oh my god, I've got to wait until like Saturday to see it. But
like Saturday, that's a day.
It is a day. I know, it's like so long. But just having just what you had him say made me laugh so hysterically. Because one, there are children here is something that has never escaped his lips, unforced. It's just, but yeah, I mean, the Comic-Con, I think seeing the different cameos and the different people represented at the Comic-Con, I have seen it. I have been those people. And I love. Let's see. There we go. I made it about me. Isn't that interesting?
Well, since we were talking about the Comic-Con episode, I mean, there was, I think Sina alluded to this a little earlier when he was talking about sort of the unglamorous side of the business, and we really tried to amplify that, especially when Amber receives that phone call and kind of goes behind the curtain, as it were, sort of seeing the nitty gritty and it's not all signings and flashbulbs for sure.
Yeah. Well, and Kevin, give yourself complete credit for that. That was all you. It took that's the moment that I'm talking about where I was like, whoa, Kevin, you're like really smart and good at this directing shit. Because and I was even telling our mixer this, that, Kevin can kind of, he's a director, so he knows how to sort of do all these little visual things that complement the larger story. And yeah, in that moment, I think the storyboards I brought that day were just literally Amber taking a phone call at her table. And I was like bristling. I was like, why are you making her go behind the curtain? Why are you doing that? That's another setup. Like, we're losing minutes. And then I heard myself, I was like, oh, because she's going behind the curtain, and that's what this series, bro, like it was like,
whoa,
Matrix.
Yeah, she goes from behind this place where, she's behind the table and she's being fawned over to sort of, we push the curtain backdrop, close to this brick wall next to this machine that opens up these giant cargo doors, and people are sitting on the ground behind her and all that stuff. And we just wanted to, it was interesting. It was going to be more interesting to shoot that than just having her continue to sit at the table. But, it also is a little bit metaphorical. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love those little touches. I thought that was pretty awesome. Oh my God, I've gone completely blank.
As long as you haven't gone Jerry blank.
I was a loser, a user. Anyway,
8 balls. Pheasant in glass.
Oh God.
I love Amy Sedaris.
Amy Sedaris is she's a wonderful peach, and apparently wonderful in real person. As a real person, that is a word. But yeah, so if let's go back to the idea that if there were a season 3,
mm-hmm.
How far will the character Sina Grace have progressed this time? Because, of course, from the first to the second season, there is definitely growth. There's definitely growth from, sort of being trapped in his head and trapped in this, cycle of uncertainty about his work and about his place. And then, of course, in the second season, there's definitely a lot more confidence and a lot more, go get him attitude. What can we expect for a possible season 3 and the next stage of Sina's development?
Okay, so, if we're going to be candid, part of why it's like, well, we're talking about it, thinking about it, but not saying anything is, you have to make sure that everyone wants to come back, and you have to make sure the money's there and the interest is there. So I've done the part of like, hey, who's interested in coming back, and in doing so, I've had to like kind of give a skeleton of where I foresee the story going, and mind you, like things change, very quickly, for many reasons. But I want to look at this as like a trilogy, or Western culture loves like sort of sets of 3, and I just kind of want to get the character to getting the book out. And for people who may not have seen season 3 yet, or, haven't seen any of this, we do end the second season on a bit of a cliffhanger and a bit of a sort of final hurdle for this guy to get the thing that he wants in his professional career. And when Kevin and I were talking about this, like, 2 years ago, it was sort of always about, like, it's about a guy who wants it all. Like, he wants his love life in order, he wants his professional life in order, and he wants his personal life in order. And he doesn't really want to sacrifice anything, because he sacrifices everything, to get it. Or he sacrifices a lot of luxuries. So I think it's kind of going to be about sort of really going back to distilling, like, you take away everything from someone, what does he have left? And I love that moment in Buffy season 2 when that happens, when Angelus is about to, like, kill her, and he's like, you got no friends, you got no this, you got no that, like, what have you got? And he's about to fucking, stab her in the face. And she grabs the sword and she's like, me. And I love, I love how paralyzing that is for people to realize they've been cut of their resources. And I also love how empowering it is, just from my own personal experiences. Like, I've, Kevin's seen where I live right now. Why did Siri
the guy's a shithole, I'll tell you.
Huh?
Nothing, I was saying what a shithole you live in now.
It's true, sort of. But anyway, but, like, I'm really fascinated by sort of the strength of the human spirit. And, it's just interesting. We all kind of want the same things, no matter where we are in life and in the world, just to different degrees of success and to different degrees of ambition. So, I just kind of want to go make sure I always come back to where that guy was in the first season when he's on shrooms and looking at his little baby self. And I don't think I'm ruining or spoiling anything by saying, like, I want to do more with the stuff that happens with his love interest in season 2. I don't want to say anything because, some stuff happens and it, you can kind of make of it what you will, but I want to explore that further.
Along those lines, and this is not going to be very specific, but is there an X-rated cut of any scenes between Sina and his love interest?
Nothing X-rated, but there was a little R-rated moments here and there that are in my cutting room floor right now. Yeah.
So a bunch of nip slips, really, is that?
It was more of a dick slip. Sorry.
Goodness.
So and
so
actually,
the director's cut, when's that coming out?
And actually, there is some behind going on there. So I don't know. I haven't actually talked to Sina about that. Like, are we gonna get away with that on YouTube?
The booty?
Yeah, the booty.
I think so. I don't know. Like the cuts that I have, like, unlisted right now haven't been, flagged. I feel like because they'll flag, like, YouTube flagged me for, like, everything on season 1 in terms of, like, the music stuff. So I feel like they must have bots designed to make sure that all their content is up to a standard. But it's just a butt for, like, half a second. I don't think it's that. I mean, yeah, no, come on, because, like, in PG movies they always show butts.
Right.
I think if that butt had been shown thrusting, then, like, YouTube would have been like, "Whoa, bro, hold the phone."
No, it's a very innocent butt. It's
Well,
there was some courageous nudity on set. I was very proud of the actors involved.
Well, I'm kind of guessing because there is a quick shirtless scene with John Gabris. I'm figuring that he would be probably one of the people to constantly walk around shirtless and or without pants, if given the opportunity.
Well, actually, that was a fun story. We were filming the Joshua, Greg, and Sina segment, the dinner, and I wanted some B-roll of Greg to kind of, like, fill in, because there's a long conversation that happens with Joshua and Sina, and I wanted something to, like, cut away to, and so so that So the cinematographer and I were like, well, what? Why don't we just like, film him like finishing getting dressed. Maybe he was late getting out of the shower or whatever. And the cinematographer is a bear chaser, or at least he has a bear partner. And I like the bearish types myself, and so literally I made John do it about 6 or 8 times. and if you look at what happens in the show, you see how little of it I actually used. we're like, no, just can you do it again a little slower?
Yeah, here, I'm gonna turn on this music in the background. Just work it how you feel.
And not to spoil anything, but John is straight, but he really seemed to enjoy all the attention he was getting on set that day, and I think Sina heard a little bit about that from John's wife.
Ooh. Yeah, a confident booster is a confident booster. Confidence booster. The end.
Let's just say that John's wife is all like thumbs up about doing season 3 if it happens.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's all I'm going to talk about the show, because I don't want to spoil anything or say anything else that would give too much away, because I definitely want people to watch this, especially if they saw the first season and loved it. This is definitely a great continuation from that.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of a potential season 3 or possible, how about a self-obsessed musical episode?
Oh, that's not bad. That's not a bad idea.
What
did you say?
Well, we have lots of friends who can contribute to that.
Yeah, and a lot. Well, and also everyone except for John, who I think I can tell this story for him. He was up for a very big role when he lived in New York, like a Broadway role, and they just needed like affable fat man, and his agent or whatever was like, come on, audition, but it was a Broadway musical, and he was like, I can't sing. He really can't sing. He's like, I've made him do it. Like, it's like if I ask, like, it's like, John, sing My Sharona, you would not recognize it. Like, he's so tone deaf. So he would be the Allison Hannigan of the musical. The one who just kind of gets a weird one-liner and then goes back into the sidelines. But yeah, that's that's ambitious. I think we've got some other ambitions that we want to do I can say this. If we're gonna be ambitious, I think we're sort of thinking about like major location changes and really trying to capture some of that on the road feeling and that tour feeling. But sorry, that answer was weird, but like maybe, probably not though.
Well, it's definitely, we're talking about expanding the scope and we did move around a lot in this season, and we went to a lot of different locations, different types of places, indoors, outdoors. But I feel like every time I do a project, it kind of gets a little more complex, and so I think that the next level of complexity is road trip. So.
Ooh. Okay, well, Justin, since you have that interview baton, what else do you have for these guys?
Sina, I wanted to talk a little bit about your story in X-Men, all new X-Men Annual 1. I don't know how much if you have heard this or not. This was a great story because all last year has just seemed like the X-Men have been like, hurry up and catch up with whatever massive event is happening now. And it was just so refreshing to see a story about them going to a mall, Edie, you writing a date, the date for Edie. This was great. I mean, this kind of stuff we do not, sadly, we don't get to see these done in one stories as much as what we used to years ago. You really know how to write teenagers. That to me it was great because these kids, and that's what they are, is kids. Sometimes we forget just how young they're supposed to be. What do you pull on just for your own personal experience with that? Or, I mean, do you have teenagers like, brothers, sisters in your life that, you can relate to, or you just a kid at heart?
Yeah, it's just Arrested Development. I just never really got past the things that matter to you when you're in high school. No. Kevin's like, he doesn't know what a 401k is.
It's the Dow Jones,
Whatever.
And all of that.
But I think I just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think about what matters to people. I just think about what mattered to me when I was that age, and sort of the fact that you don't, like, everything the kids. I think Joss Whedon said this, or someone said this, but like, using high school as a metaphor for sort of the larger, bigger demons, and using demons for metaphors for the things you go through in high school and bringing them together. It's so smart, because when you're a kid, you're emotionally mature, but you just haven't put that maturity to test yet. So everything is a huge challenge. Everything is the end of the world. But like, you're still a kid, and you still want to have fun, and you still have those selfish needs of like, you're still selfish, basically, even if you're a hero, and even if you're Cyclops or Iceman or, any of the sort of bigger young ones, Spider-Man. I don't know. I'm so brain dead tonight. But yeah, even if you're those people, you still have these sort of basic human needs. And I just tried to filter it through the scope of like, well, imagine if you haven't gotten it yet. Like, where was your head when you didn't have certain experiences under your belt? And, and I just thought, like, gosh, these kids like don't. Yeah, and then I went back to like the X-Men books I loved, and it was a lot of that stuff. It was them trying to kind of cool off and be normal, and just, not being able to escape the responsibility and burden that comes with being special. So thank you for that compliment. That was a really fun book to write, and it was really cool because they were just like, hey, like, if you want to use one of the lesser known heroes and sort of shed some light on them, like, more power to you. And I was looking at her, her name, I call her Ide. I don't know. It's all over the place. The internet has like 9 different pronunciations. But
I'm horrible with pronunciations anyway. So if I in my head it was Edie's, but yeah, whatever you.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm not. Unfortunately, I don't know either. But but I just like looked at her, and I had so much compassion for her, because she's, she has such a cool and dark and painful backstory, and she certainly worked through it and has had a lot of help along the way, but like, that doesn't go away, like a lot of those pains and a lot of that judgment and a lot of that self, sort of those perceptions of yourself, they don't disappear overnight. You can get distracted fighting the Goblin Queen, but it doesn't go away.
Well, I know that I was reading that now, after rereading it a couple times, it would have almost been like a perfect fit for you. And the artist to do a Generation X book. And, and it was just, after that, I saw that they were coming out with Generation X. I was like, oh, that would have been great for you. But, I know we can't talk a lot about it, but if you want to just go ahead and let us know what you're going to do next, with Marvel. I know that you've already,
Yeah. I'm writing Iceman, which is super cool too. And I feel you, like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, just let me write Generation X. But, like, it's, Iceman's super cool. And I think
literally,
literally, I do that all the time. And also I'm real Cali. So I'm always like, he's chill. And then people are like, literally. And I'm like, I didn't catch that, OMG. And they're like, oh my God, Sina, like, get your head out.
You can't turn this into like Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin, okay?
No. The book will not have puns, but yeah, and I do wonder, because that's the thing. I'd gotten into Marvel I'd tried actually to pitch Generation X, and I think I had a little bit too much of a millennial approach, and golly, I can't wait to see like Christina Strain and all of the stuff that I've heard about and that they've shown me with the I shouldn't be talking about this stuff, but anyway, it's gonna be cool. Iceman's gonna be dope. Generation X will also be dope, and thank you so much for saying that, because like all I want to do is write teenagers, but I'm super thrilled to kind of have a more complicated character and have the challenges that come with that sort of before me.
Well, honestly, I'm looking forward to it, and you do write teenagers well, so but I'm really looking forward to your new Iceman book coming out.
Maybe the next project we do should be a teen movie.
Because that won't be hard.
Oh my God, a teen musical. Ooh.
Wow.
They're like too tired.
Yeah.
Tired.
Where did that sigh come from? Was that Bill?
Oh, it's always Bill. Sina, I also wanted to talk with you about some of the shorter form projects that have come out from you since we last talked. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about Persian version, and especially given the kind of podcast and the kind of clientele we have for our show. And can you talk to us about 9 Weirdest Dicks I've Sucked?
You can talk about the 9 weirdest dicks you've sucked too. Okay, I'll start. I guess I'll go in chronological order. The dicks I sucked came about because I was talking, like I was at a bar or something and talking about this one weird dick I sucked, and then people were like, "Wait, what? It was half circumcised?" And then I drew it, and they were like, "Oh, that's weird." And then I talked about another one, and they're like, "What?" And then and I realized it's like, oh, I can draw all these dicks, and they're sort of funny to look at, and I made just a tiny little zine that literally fits like in the palm of your hand. You know, the DIY thing where you fold a sheet of paper 8 times, but then cut a slit down the middle, and boom, you have an 8-page zine. And I did that at Emerald City Comic Con, and I hand made like 150 of them, and I was just selling them for like $1 a pop, and everyone was going nuts for them. So then I expanded it and turned it into sort of a better designed and better drawn product that was about like 20 something pages. I can't remember. And then once again, like it did really, really, really well. And I stopped printing them only because I had this option of like you could buy it for $5, cool, or for $10, like I'll draw a dick in it. And like it got me through some hard months to have that $10 option because people really liked it, but it got a little too overwhelming and tiring, and you have to do sort of a cost benefit analysis in terms of your career. Like, okay, do I spend today drawing a page for a book that, fingers crossed could get me like nominated for an Eisner, or do I draw a dick for fan that no one else will ever see? So yeah, it exists currently as a digital PDF on my website, so you can still purchase it. I just won't draw a dick for you. And I might reprint it because I'm doing a couple of gay themed conventions. I'm going to the Queers and Comics Fest in San Francisco. I think I can say I'm doing RuPaul's Drag Con, and then a couple other ones. So I feel like I might need to honor my clientele and maybe, print another like couple hundred of them. But that was that book. And what was really crazy is that everyone likes it, including straight dudes, everyone except for lesbians. I shit you not. But yeah, if you want to see a drawing of a half circumcised dick, if you want to see a drawing of a ball sack that is made entirely of grafted skin, if you want to see, what else is a weird dick? I don't know. Those two are the really, really weird ones. Oh, well then there's the guy at the very end whose dick like curved upwards, the foreskin wouldn't pull back, and what else was weird about it? And he would thrust. No, it pointed down and he would thrust up in my mouth, like forcing teeth on it. Anyway, yeah, 9 weirdest dicks I've sucked. There's a bonus dick in there too, kids.
So I have 2 questions for Sina about dicks I've sucked.
Yeah, there's just no kiss and tell, Kevin.
The first one is, what was your how many dicks per hour were you drawing? What was your like dicks per minute rate?
I vacillated between 2 different sort of like so when you go to a comic convention, you meet like Jim Lee and you say like, hey, draw me Batman. Like,
my God.
Let me finish. He's not giving you like, he's not reinventing the wheel every time he has to draw Batman. He has sort of a stock Batman head sketch that he does. I have 2 different dick sketches that I would do one or the other. And one was based off a picture a guy sent me on Snapchat of him with a big boner sitting on a toilet. And then another was a friend who had like sent a dick pic of his kind of peeking out between his zippers. And so I just would go between the 2. And long story short, yeah, I got it down to like a minute a dick. But I really should kind of do the $10 option again, because that's $10 a minute. Is that good? Is that good?
That's pretty good. I wish I could make $10 a minute. Actually, when you said you talked to Jim Lee, I was imagining you asking Jim Lee like draw a dick for you, and there'd be like speed lines all around it.
Oh my god! and a collar.
It was super uncomfortable. I was at a signing and no one, like, I was at a group signing in New York and there was just like a lull in the line, and I wish I could remember everyone's names who was there, but I just like got bored and handed a Bristol board around and I was like, hey, let's draw some dicks. And it was really funny because it was all straight men and they were so uncomfortable, and then like 10 minutes in, they kind of got into it. I wish I can remember the names, and I'm not being coy. Like, I just smoked too much weed in 2015 and 2016 that I can't remember. But yeah, and then Persian version. Let's go back to that and stop talking about dicks. Or not. And then Persian version was just basically the political climate was making me annoyed and frustrated with how the perception is sort of across all 50 states about Persian people. And I was like, this is dumb. Like, let me do something cute. And then I did, and the orders were getting stalled out by PayPal. They were reviewing every single transaction that included Persian version simply because the word Persian was in it. And I even contested it, and I even sent an email, blah, 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 blah. And they just, all they would say is government compliance. And it just pissed me off even more. And so I kept expanding it. And then it pissed me off even more that like my fans don't give a shit. Like, I've only sold like maybe 20 copies of it online. And so it's just made me like lean in further. I'm like, fuck all of you people. Like, you do need to pay attention. You do need to know about this stuff, because like for wherever you stand in politics, like the guy, the big orange guy up front, he's saying a lot of really ignorant things about lovely, lovely people, and he's making it about religion. And, kind of one of the things I assert, especially here in Los Angeles, it's like, A, like I have no religion, B, like most of the Persians here in LA are Jewish. Like, it's just not chill to kind of create sort of this like weird xenophobic air. And this is my like adorkable, quirky girl way of being political. I kill with kindness. That's my rule.
That's a great rule to live by. Kevin, I have a question for you. In relation to some of your past work as a director, a lot of it's been for music videos, correct?
I've done a few, yeah.
What are some of the similarities in terms of directing music videos with what you're doing with the narrative of Self-Obsessed Season 2? And what are some things that are just wildly different in terms of how you attack those?
Well, a lot of the best music videos kind of have a story to them. And you're kind of trying to construct that. There's a little bit of narrative involved with every music video to an extent. I mean, to the best ones anyway. How it applies directly to narrative, if you start doing music videos, you start thinking about rhythm a lot and how you cut to music. And you'll see in this season, since there's so much music, I mean, this is like one of the projects that one of the projects where I've had the most music in the actual piece. And so, which provides really great opportunities and also some challenges. You don't want the music to compete with what's going on with the characters, whereas in a music video, it's pretty much all about the music, and whatever you do supports it. And so we had a lot of discussions around musical choices. And as a director and an editor, I had the opportunity to sort of place music into the individual episodes, kind of with a first pass. I mean, Sina had some ideas about some songs he wanted in certain places, but he also gave me a big folder of like, here's stuff for the soundtrack, and so I put it in there. And so there was some happy connections between what the song is. I mean, it's the way it should be. What the song is saying and what's going on in the screen. And so you either want to create some correlation there, or you want to any difference there to be a commentary on the action. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Okay, Steve, you got anything else you want to ask these guys?
Let's see. I could go totally non sequitur. I mean, we have already talked about dicks and
and I think you might ask my second question about dicks.
Oh yeah, what was your second question about dicks?
Yeah.
I guess it'll be a pun, but I was curious if Sina, you've received any blowback from any of the weird dicked fellows.
Oh my gosh. One of them was like absolutely, he was like, sweet, this is dope. He was like super honored. And then what was funny was one of the weirdest, like in a bad way, and this is the other thing about it, is it tries to be cheeky, and the book exists to kind of remind everyone, like, we all have weird dicks. Like, dicks are just weird. Like, relax. Like, stop being self-conscious and just have a good time when you're having sex. But someone with, like, what I would say for me and my practices and how I felt at the time, just had like a not good dick in a bad, weird way, pejorative. He ordered the book. And I was like, oh, you didn't have to do that. And he's like, I want to support you, man. And I was like, no, please, let me return the money. And he's like, no, come on, send me my book. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I actually like waited like a month or two, because I just didn't tell him. I was, what are you supposed to say? Like, hey, I made a book and you're in it and your dick's weird, and not in a cool way. Like, and so I sent it to him, and I haven't heard from him since.
Ooh.
I mean, it's okay. Like, yeah, don't worry. He's nowhere near like my Mr. Big.
Oh, you know what? That is one thing that we didn't mention at all today. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, because gay bears really care about her.
Well, some do apparently.
How's she doing, Sina?
How is she? Yeah, no. I actually don't have any more questions, but Justin, did you have something else that you wanted to chat about or ask about?
I did love your shout out for the Persian New Year.
Oh, thanks.
That was
I mean, what? It's a secular holiday. Like, boom, that alone is sort of like this, like, hey everyone, like, here's a very benign fact, like, that humanizes a group of people and sort of takes away, like, it's sans stigma. Thank you, though.
Right. Well, I mean, like, Persian New Year is one of the few holidays that my family did celebrate. My family's Syrian, and right. They were refugees from the Turkish war back in the early 1900s. So they totally acclimated to USA, American. I mean, they got rid of. I mean, then that's what a lot of immigrants did back then. But with the exception of some, food and some, calling my grandmother Sitto. I didn't have that, but we did celebrate the Persian New Year. So, and I hadn't thought of it in years. It kind of fades away from generation to generation. But when I saw that, it just kind of brought back some good memories. So thank you.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad.
I cannot get around your saying that all our dicks are weird, because I think that there's a lot to that. Definitely a lot to that.
I just remember spending so much time, like, not sealing the deal, when I was younger, because I was so insecure, or not even going after things, which, in hindsight, I kind of am like, well, at least it kept me, sort of safe and out of harm's way for a little while. But, I guess there's just so much we have to worry about for real. Like, why worry about that? You really can't change your dick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously they're like, oh, you can do this, you can do that, but not really. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't actually kind of accomplish much to do those pumps or surgery or whatever. Also, I hooked up with a guy who was doing foreskin revival, or what is that called?
Restoration.
Yeah, that was really weird. Like, he was stroking me and his at the same time, and he's like, isn't it a shame what our parents did to us? And I was like, no.
The thing is, it's your dick. It's the only dick you're gonna get. It's like, yeah. I mean, I've been insecure about myself, in situations as well. But and I really hope that nobody hearing this, has had this experience. But I've never had anybody say, "Oh no, not interested." Once you kind of like got down to it, So I think we stop ourselves a lot, and we are far more critical of ourselves than anybody else is of us, and I guess that kind of brings it full circle back around to self-obsessed. Speaking of which, I have another question for Sina. Sina and I spend a lot of time working together on this stuff, and we don't get a lot of time to just hang out and chat. So I hope you don't mind me asking Sina some questions, but
no, honorary co-host, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not here just to look pretty. So Sina, you're playing a version of yourself, and basically everybody in the show is playing a version of themselves. And what you've written is sort of a fictionalized memoir. Have there ever been any instances where you felt like you shared too much, or you kind of struggled with Sina the character versus Sina the person?
Not until I went on a really interesting date with someone who had basically encountered me, basically had met me after the web series came out, season 1, and after a book like the book Self-Obsessed came out, and I never, it's not that I've ever felt vulnerable. I really don't have an issue with people learning about the things that make me frail or make me scared. It's when people kind of have information that they haven't earned, that's when it gets a little dangerous. He kind of, what did he do? He just basically sorry, my phone's ringing, my landline's ringing. I apologize, guys, and I'm not going to move.
What's a landline?
It's the 90s, apparently.
Yeah, I just basically watched Reality Bites for 3 days straight and was like, how do I make my life look like that?
Bangs, lots of bangs.
Use my parents' Chevron card or whatever. But that's when it got a little weird, because he one day binged all the podcasts I was on while he was cleaning his apartment, and it was really tough to know what was genuine on our dates. He started for example, he started talking about Colleen Green, and he was like, isn't it crazy that we both like her? And I was like, not really, we both live in LA. And in the back of my head I was also I don't know if you really like her. You just you see that I love her on Instagram, and you see that I used a bunch of her music in my web series and blah blah blah, and there was stuff like that. He would kind of mention things that felt it took me a while to realize oh, I said that in the web series, oh, I said that on a podcast. It makes you vulnerable in terms of people being able to say what they think you want to hear. But no, I've never really regretted it otherwise, because I think for the most part, if I'm putting something out there or exposing a part of myself that's a little fragile, it usually serves the purpose of the audience hopefully getting to have something about themselves. And I have a thick enough of a skin that I don't really care if people just start attacking me and my character based on choices I've made. I'm okay, whatever. I give a shit what you're doing. You're probably drinking a Mountain Dew and microwaving a Tombstone pizza and and texting your fucking girlfriend about bringing home some Dr. Pepper or something. I don't know. That someone did that to me. They were attacking me on Twitter based on something I posted for gay marriage. And then I looked at his Twitter account, and it was him and his girlfriend interacting about her bringing him home McDonald's. And I was like, why do I give a shit what you have to say? Lay out of my business, bro.
Bro.
Well, it's no one's equipped to criticize me. Only I can say if someone's allowed to kind of validly, attack me.
So there was actually an interesting conversation that we had when we were putting together Not My Bag. Do you remember this one where I was saying, I think we really need to make Sina more likable? And you were like, that's me, right?
No.
And then we're fast friends.
I guess the thing is, I have my lines. I'll be okay with, sort of poking fun at myself if there's truth to it. But then, I don't know, what wouldn't I do? Like, I don't really know, or what wouldn't I sort of have characterized in there? But yeah, that was the only thing, was just sort of like, when people have access to information that can kind of like get them a little closer to you and sort of put you in a weird spot, because that dude was a little like not like all, I don't know, whatever. He's probably listening to this too.
Kevin, you did open up this, though, to a new question that I have for you. Since you mentioned that the filming of this season was pretty accelerated over just a handful of weekends, and that's where some of these questions that you were generating for Sina are coming out of, for things that you didn't have a chance to discuss. Given that accelerated pace, was there anything that got left out that you wish you did have the bandwidth to address for season 5, or organically was there something that just didn't happen that was originally planned?
Well, we had the day that we shot the club scene was it was a 14-page day, and when you're shooting something, you probably want to do about 6 to 8 pages a day. So it was a very ambitious day, and this was the day that we had like all of the actors were there, and we had a bunch of extras, and we had this live band. And I think if we had a little more time, we could have taken more advantage of having that live band there. For example, we actually lost the space. We ran out of time to shoot inside, and so we actually had to improv some stuff outside, which actually turned out to be, I think, better than if it was inside. And so I think that necessity, breeds invention, and that sort of that panic of running out of time. That's when the actual real directing happens. When you have to make the tough choices about how you're going to shoot something, how much coverage you're going to get, how many takes are going to be able to cut together. And thankfully, I was directing and editing, so I had sort of my editor hat on while I was directing, and I was able to kind of make some choices on set that if I had handed this to an editor, they probably would have been like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But as far as things that didn't get done, like I wanted more feels. Actually, my goal was kind of to give feels kind of the equivalent of a music video out of this for their troubles. I really liked the band, so I wanted to give them some good exposure there. But otherwise, I think it actually came together really well, and in some ways, a lot better than I imagined it would.
Okay, cool. And Sina, you had mentioned you have some upcoming appearances, including the Queers in Comics conference. I went to that in New York 2 years ago. It's a fantastic, fantastic show. Do you fellas have any screenings coming up of Self-Obsessed outside of the interwebs?
Well, on the 12th of April, for that event at CCA, we're going to be doing a showing at Mission Comics. Sorry, Sina just had a showing at Meltdown, but we're having a showing at Mission Comics on the 12th at 7 o'clock. Sina, is that correct?
I think so. Yeah, I'm 80% sure. But yeah, so we're doing that, and then I'm checking with different conventions and stuff about how they feel, with maybe me and if Kevin can pull it off, Kevin and a few of the actors coming in and potentially also, doing some screenings and talks. It's funny because it's hard. It's not as there's not as much. It's harder to kind of be like, hey, let's watch a 50-minute web series at a comic convention, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm maybe we'll do more. I kind of want to, like, in my dream, I want to do like a whole tour where like I screen the shows, we get like some liquor brand to sponsor it, and like I just like basically throw small parties like in all these towns I've never hung out in. But I'll pursue that in my free time.
Okay. Okay, well, if people want to check out Self-Obsessed, what's the best route to go?
Right now, the easiest thing is to just either find it through my website, sinagrace.com, or If you have a second to type, you can do youtube.com/Sina M Grace. Don't worry, folks. I'm working on proing that up a little bit, but you got to start small first. So yeah, SinaGrace.com or youtube.com/Sina M Grace.
Awesome. Sina, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
It's so dope.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was the interview, so we're going to move on to the end of the show. And if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that the last segment of the show is something we call the Woofs of the Week, where we signify something to you, fair listener, be it a comic book, but possibly a movie or a television program or a charitable initiative, anything under the sun we think you may enjoy. So, Justin, I'm going to you first. What is your Woof of the Week?
All right. Well, I ordered a T-shirt at the beginning of the year from Facebook. I saw it and I thought it was really neat. And it turns out they made a mistake. And through the past month of trying to get this worked out, I've come to really appreciate the guys at beardedshirts.com. They are, you can go on, you can get some nice bear shirts, very gay shirts, but they also have Legion of Superheroes shirts, which I absolutely freaking love. I have an Ultra Boy shirt, a Timberwolf shirt, and actually I bought a Timberwolf hat, but these guys are fantastic. They're fast shipping. They're great to work with. If you've got an issue and you Facebook them, they respond usually within minutes. So my Wolf of the Week, it's beardedshirts.com. They always have sales on everything, and they're good guys, and it's a good company.
Okay, let's move on to Steve. Steve, what is your Woof of the Week?
Well, my Woof of the Week is a little bit different because it's not comic book related, but it is TV related. So, quick preface, when I was a little kid, one of my favorite books of all time was Anne of Green Gables by L. Maud Montgomery. And this year is just booming with Anne of Green Gables adaptations, apparently, north of the border. So my Woof of the Week is the new series Anne on CBC, and it will be coming to Netflix starting May 12th, but it did just start airing in Canada. It is actually written and co-produced by Maura Walley-Beckett, who is actually one of the writers and producers from Breaking Bad. So, I'm not really sure if I'm expecting Anne to start making meth in Marilla Cuthbert's basement at this point, but you never know. Anything could happen. But I did watch the first pilot episode. It is fantastic. She's the actress that they have playing Anne is perfect. I don't know if she'll ever replace Megan Fellows in my, from my childhood obsession, but she does a fantastic job with a very, very wordy part, and the cinematography is beautiful, everything is beautiful, and the theme song is done by the Tragically Hip. So if you couldn't get more Canadian than that, you got the Tragically Hip. So in any case, that's my Woof of the Week, is the series Anne, coming to Netflix on May 12th.
If you were here, you would have seen my ears literally perk up hearing the Tragically Hip. Because if people do not...
Theme song.
Well, if people don't know, the lead singer of the Tragically Hip has terminal cancer, and they're basically wrapping up their activities, and they had a huge final tour last year. Gord Downey, he has a graphic novel coming out with Jeff Lemire. Is it out or coming out? There's still a lot of activity on his front. He doesn't seem to be going down without a fight. Very happy to hear that we have another little thing coming from the hip. Well, my Woof of the Week is another podcast, and a show that I'm listening to a lot now is a podcast called Decode DC. It's hosted by Jimmy Williams. He's a former lobbyist, not very proud of that part of his history, and he references himself as a bearded homo. It's a really insightful, insider-based political podcast. They also have a website. You can go to decodedc.com, naturally subscribe to it through iTunes and your other podcatchers and platforms. Decode DC, that's my Woof of the Week. So thank you for listening. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears Podcast. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. You can find us on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. If you want to reach out to us, you can do so by writing to comicbookbears@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us through iTunes, and as we had recently announced, we're back on Stitcher Radio, this time under our own feed, so you can set up your Stitcher and get every episode of our cast that way. So until next time, I'm Billy Z.
I'm Justin Allen.
And I'm Steve Morey.
You're going to hear a woof and an explosion. We'll be back real soon. Take care, everyone.
Woof!
Bye.